Presenting the vocabulary paper that we've been waiting for a long time, because it's kind of like foundational for what we are all doing. And that happened, and it came out in March of this year. Title is OHDSI Standardized Vocabularies. We no longer call it OMOP Standardized Vocabularies, the official name that we all should use so it doesn't get, people don't get confused, is OHDSI Standardized Vocabularies. And it's a large-scale centralized reference ontology for international data harmonization. Okay, so story of it's a foundational paper, right? There's no research or anything like this. So here it is. Here's the PMC in case you want to pull it. The story is roughly you need large scale for observational research. And for large scale, you need standardization to aggregate the data, to put them into a network. And all data networks have a standard. And in the standard, you can standardize format and the representation of vocabularies. And this is what the paper is about. And the standardization of the vocabularies can be done ad hoc while you're in a study, or through a central reference. And we, of course, all know that a central reference does some of the job ahead of time, so you don't have to do it during the study. And also, hopefully, does it at a higher quality. So OHDSI chooses the central system. That's essentially to put it into a context. And it supports the usual, the use cases that we need to do it supports the machinery, the methods to do the usual use cases that we have, characterization, PLE, PLP, and both in defining as well as doing the analysis, as well as reporting the analysis. And then there's some paragraph about a section about UMLS, which also is a repository of lots of vocabularies. But essentially, they're good. We use them, but they're not supporting our use case. And we tried to avoid it, but we had to implement that because all the reviewers were adamant that we should explain why the hell are we doing yet another large collection of vocabularies if the UMLS already does such a thing? So answer is, it's a good thing. We are very grateful that it exists. We are using it, but it doesn't help us directly. That's the story. Okay, that's like the storyline that we need to use, or that we put in the paper and that we use. We also had to, but then probably gladly had to put in what it is that a centralized system like this actually needs. What are the attributes that it needs to have? What does it need to do? Okay, so these requirements actually are still under debate, and we'll bring this into the community soon, certainly this year, into a larger debate. Where we are with that, but roughly, and this is as far as we've gone in the paper with that, is that we have standard concepts which uniquely explain certain medical entities. One thing for one entity, one concept for one entity. They live in domains. We decide what the domains are. They comprehensively cover everything. Resulting in comprehensive coverage. There are polyhierarchies, which means not just one parent. It has to be efficient for people to use, and it has to support the use case. Okay, you can think of other requirements, and there are other requirements, and again, we will discuss them. But this is essentially like the core ones that we used as guiding principle to get where we are today. Okay. Methods, really just explaining, what vocabularies are and what concepts are, rather than codes, and the domain, what the domains are and how they work. and that we standardize the concept, which means one concept is more equal than the others. And there's this mapping and the hierarchical relationships and all the other relationships. And then everything has a life cycle. It comes and goes. And there's a quality system. Again, quality system was important for the reviewers. We had to beef it up during the back and forth with them. And the usual pictures, like the structure that we all know and are used to, is now in the world. And the results is mostly numbers. So intro said we need such a thing and has to have these attributes. Methods explains the structure and the logic, and results is essentially this is what we have today. Today is like about 2 years ago vocabulary. It's not the current release, obviously. And so, you know, these are the vocabularies, these are the concepts, these are the relationships. And then the mapping relationships, of course, always, as you all know, create lots of emotional responses, and that they can be one-to-one. Everybody understands that. Many-to-one, there's more than one source which goes into one standard. Obviously, if you have a whole lot of them that you have to standardize, that's the case. One-to-many, there are not that many of these, but they create a lot of concern. And of course, then many-to-many are the mixed situations of the other ones. In the discussion, mostly what we said is this is a work in progress, which will never end. All of these vocabularies are in constant flux. And we have to constantly go after the problems, which of course we invite the community to keep doing. And it's very gratifying that the community does that, even though sometimes you may think that, you know, it annoys us. It doesn't. The standard concepts, of course, standardization of concepts, you know, picking one that is really one thing and mapping everything else into it is what the most challenge it presents. And the quality system that we are, that's in construction in order to make this more reliable over time. And also, it's not a knowledge base. So yes, we put a lot of effort into the mapping. We put a lot of effort into the hierarchy. Everything else, all these lateral relationships, this procedure is, you know, indicated by this condition. All those type of relationships, they have like a lazy approach. So if somebody gives them to us, we import them. But there's no attempt to make this comprehensive or perfect or anything like this. And also that also creates routinely emotions in the community, as you know from the forums. That's it. That's really the story. So this is it's essentially supposed to be the standard vocabulary paper. So if you write you know, you do a method development or you do a study, use the standard CDM paper that we have, use the standard vocabulary paper that we have now too, so you don't have to explain any of these things. That's the purpose of it. So we can just rely on having this out in the world. So if anybody wants to know how it works in principle, this is what the paper that's supposed to address that.